Hi there, and welcome to my Itty Bitty Chapel. My name is Patty Chaffee, and I'm the community minister at Nianta Community Church. I'm also a spiritual director and an expressive arts facilitator. The Itty Bitty Chapel is a few moments offered midweek to relax, refresh, and reflect on a spiritual word or phrase. It's usually filmed in or near a sacred space within my home called the Itty Bitty Chapel, and our candle here is lit to remind us of the presence of Spirit within and around us. If you're so inclined to light a candle in your sacred space during our time together, feel free to pause the video. Our word for reflection today is contemplation. As the word for this week's chapel came to me, I said to my partner, I'm going to talk about contemplation this week, but I'm not sure what I have to say. I guess I'll have to think about it. As I laughed at my own itty-bitty joke, he made a face that said, "Really?" I laughed and went about my business. I celebrate myself, the poet Walt Whitman wrote. The thought is so delicious it is almost obscene. Imagine the joy that would come when celebrating the self, our achievements, our experiences, our existence. Imagine what it would be like to look in the mirror and say, as God taught us, "That's good." The words of Benedictine nun, theologian, prolific author, and speaker Joan Chittister. I celebrate myself, wrote Walt Whitman. How often do we do that, I wonder? Sister Joan reflects further on our theme. Contemplation is a very dangerous activity. It not only brings us face to face with God, it brings us as well face to face with the world, face to face with the self. And then, of course, something must be done. Nothing stays the same once we have found the God within. She's so wise. So what is contemplation? Merriam-Webster defines it as a form of private devotion, a state of mystical awareness of God's being, an act of considering with attention, the act of regarding steadily. Those are okay, but I love what Thomas Merton has to say about it in his book, New Seeds of Contemplation. I appreciate Merton's insights so much because he really resonates with me. He was a Trappist monk, a theologian, a mystic, a poet, a pacifist, and an author of 50 books in 27 years, one of which was about his spiritual journey called The Seven-Story Mountain, which was named one of the 100 best nonfiction books of the century. Can you imagine that? He also chose to live in a hermitage at times, needing both his solitude and his community. Contemplation was a big part of his life. He wrote, "Contemplation is the highest expression of our intellectual and spiritual life. It is that life itself, fully awake, fully active, fully aware that it is alive. It is spiritual wonder. It is spontaneous awe at the sacredness of life, of being. It is gratitude for life, for awareness, and for being. It is a vivid realization of the fact that life and being in us proceed from an invisible, transcendent, and infinitely abundant source. Contemplation is, above all, awareness of the reality of that source. It knows that source obscurely, inexplicably, but with a certitude that goes both beyond reason and beyond simple faith. For contemplation is a kind of spiritual vision to which both reason and faith aspire by their very nature, because without it they must always remain incomplete. Yet contemplation is not vision, because it sees without seeing and knows without knowing. It is more profound depth of faith, knowledge too deep to be grasped in images, in words, or even in clear concepts. I think sometimes we kind of approach the spiritual life as being very serious, very intense, not to be taken lightly. But Merton's words invite us also into joy and love and light. God invites us into those things, right? I think the words Merton uses, spiritual wonder, spontaneous awe, gratitude, vivid realization, and awareness, these words make me think of children and the honest, authentic, playful way they approach life. Perhaps an invitation for all of us. Can spending time in a contemplative silence be both meaningful and joyful as we connect with that sacredness of life within us? Can our prayer be both intentional, serious, and playful? Can our relationship with God be one where we can laugh and cry, complain and give thanks all in the same breath? One where we can talk and listen, be sad and joyful? I wonder. I think we hear God in many different ways, one of which is in silence, when we are intentionally listening. So how can we embrace the silence? How can we really embrace it? And what will we do with this very dangerous activity that not only brings us face to face with God, but brings us face to face with the world and with ourselves? Because as Sister Joan says, nothing stays the same once we have found the God within. I keep you in prayer every day of this very contemplative life. And if this message spoke to you in some way, feel free to share it with others. And until next time, may God bless you in every way you need. Namaste.